Audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
You're listening to Momentum, a show that helps men succeed in life. And as we delve into this week's topic, a reminder that some of the content may be of a sensitive nature. Now, here's your hosts, Tim and Des.
Okay, well, it is Momentum. Hello, welcome. Thanks for tuning in once again, wherever you may be. It is really great to have you joining us for the next half hour or so as we step into another show. And look, really appreciate you spending some time with us because, let's be honest, there's lots of other places you could be right now. But Momentum, hey, this is a space. And if you're a bloke, hopefully it's helping you. We do know that we're helping men, families, ladies, all around, not just Australia, but the world through this ministry, which is absolutely awesome and mind-blowing. And Des, let me jump in on you and get your thoughts on that. I mean, it is crazy to think that 3 or 4 years ago when we started Momentum, doors have opened for us. We get random emails from places around the world that we've never even heard of. And people reaching out going, man, I just love that show. Thank you for what you're doing. It's mind-blowing, isn't it?
It's fantastic. In fact, just as we're talking, I've just got a list that I put together of the last couple of weeks of where people have contacted us from. And Tim, you're not even aware of this, but we have had a female from Alice Springs contact us. We've had a male from Queanbeyan contact us near Canberra, Brisbane North, a guy from Brisbane North, a guy from Glen Waverley in Perth, Rockingham in Western Australia, another guy contacted us, a female in Adelaide who contacted us, a female in Perth contacted us, a female in Albany contacted us, and a male in Point Cook contacted us. That's only in the last few weeks. It's amazing. Yeah. And it's a mixture of men looking for connect groups, or one of them was a lady who suffered badly from parental wounding from her mum. And so she was expressing the what she enjoyed about that show and how it helped her through that journey. So that was really good. So yeah. And so here we are. We've got Momentum, but just going out to men, just amazing in all the channels that we're able to do. Yeah. And I just want to remind guys about our care line. 1-800-000-MEN. That's 1-800-000-636. Guys, a great helpline. It's open from 9 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. And so if you want a safe and confidential conversation, please just reach out 1-800-000-636. And also, while I've got you, since I've got the control of the microphone, don't forget our YouTube channel. We push it every week, Momentum for Men. I send out an email every week on that, and we do put a show on live every week. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Engage with us on YouTube for sure. I mean, watching is always a little bit more engaging than just listening. Maybe not as practical depending on what you're doing, but certainly do that. And you can access the YouTube channel via the website, of course, momentumaustralia.org. And as Des said, if you want to give us some feedback, maybe you've got a question, maybe you need some support or some help, reach out to us at momentumaustralia.org. And just quickly as well, we do get a bit of finances in here and there, but we are a ministry. We run pretty lean. And we rely on people just like you listening who've, had some benefit, had some help from listening to a show or watching a show and go, hey, could you flick us 20, 50, $100 just to help keep the show going? All of it helps. All of it helps. Yeah. And, what you're really investing into is not just putting a show to air. Essentially, what you are really investing into is helping men, ladies, families all around Australia, all around the world. Yeah. Through this ministry. And if you've benefited, it's kind of like a pay it forward thing. You put in a bit to Momentum, you're going to pay it forward to somebody else to get the benefit as well. So if you could do that, there's a donate button on the website. Good. We'd love you just to take a moment or two and whatever's suitable for you, whatever you can manage, every little bit helps here at Momentum because we are all about improving lives, momentumaustralia.org. And can I just say also, Des and I do get to fairly regularly speak in men's groups, and it's wonderful to actually get in front of men and see men and eyeball men and encourage men. And I've had a couple of experiences this week where I've been really, really blessed by watching how the men, once we've done our spiel, kind of send them off to go and start conversations. And I've been really encouraged by men stepping into conversations, and that actually really blesses me because we at Momentum, we are encouraging men to not just get connected, but do that. converse and converse at a deep level, get honest, get real, be transparent, get accountability, get some help, get some prayer support. And you can only do that when you get real. And it's been really encouraging, Des, seeing men just step into that space.
I think the important thing there, Tim, is that, if you're running a men's group, no matter where it is, get the guys to break up into small groups too. It's 1-on-1, 1-on-2, whatever that looks like, and get them just to talk about their life. Give them a couple of questions to ask each other. And it's amazing how that can sow seeds of trust and relationship that can last a lifetime. Yeah. And so that's the foundation of, and pray with each other, care for each other, probe a little bit about where that person is. Don't just do surface stuff. Yeah. Don't talk about the football. Yeah. While it's sort of important, it's not that important. Yeah. And so get into the deep stuff. So guys, if you're running a Connect group, contact us so we can help you. We've got a program called Re-Up Men, which we push, which is all about discipleship for men, particularly young men. And we're happy to push that along with you guys if that's of interest to you.
Yeah, for sure. There's a quote, and then we'll get into the show, but there's a quote that says, shame dies when stories are told in safe places. And I say to every men's group that I get into, if you are not a safe space, where do men go? We have to be creating safe spaces. And that, again, is part of the reason why we have the care line, 1-800-000-636. If you don't have a safe space, there is a confidential space for you there. Okay, let's move on to this week's show. We've titled this week's show Being a Modern Day Warrior. And Des and I are going to explore the concept of men as modern day warriors. I mean, do we even need them? And if so, what does that look like? And how do we become one?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's the title of this week's show. And I think it's going to be an interesting concept. I mean, because I suppose when we think about warriors, Des, we think of olden days, men in armor, going out to do battle.
Well, you think of Braveheart, don't you? That sort of movie, that sort of
that's where you went.
Sort of image, Mel Gibson and that image of a big spear and go out and killing wild animals for dinner and all that sort of stuff.
Sure.
And you have that image in your mind, but that doesn't equate to today's society. And you look at some of the images of men today, and they're wearing flowery shirts and they're wearing also, I didn't say it in Romo shirts. I'm just trying to picture, they put their hair in a man bun, and I'm not saying they shouldn't do that, but you can create an image there really quickly that is this total opposite of Mel Gibson and Braveheart.
Right. I was going to say you kept digging, and I'm not sure that you've come out of the hole yet, but that's okay. We'll leave it there. I want to go into a definition of a modern day warrior, and I again, this is stuff that I found, right? Because this is not something that I personally am across, but I am excited about men stepping into this space, right? So just kind of, that's the disclaimer at the beginning of the show. This is not really something that I've had to do a lot of research to go, what does this actually mean? Because I feel like we are missing this in today's society. So again, this is stuff I found on the internet, and it's stuff that's resonated, and I hope it resonates with you too. So a modern day warrior is defined as a battle-ready man who lives by an exemplary code of conduct, who embraces courage, compassion, and discipline, and who strives for the betterment of himself, so he may be a transcendent protector, husband, father, and leader. And I think that's a really good description.
It is, and it covers most of things. Then one that I would add in there, by the way, is gentleman, right? And that's all about morals and values and respect and honoring and all those sort of words, as well as being somebody who's strong, brave, courageous, compassionate, disciplined, and and showing grace and love and care for those that are important in his life.
Another note to pick up on, and I read this: the essence of a man has always been to be a hunter, to be a provider, and to be a protector. That is in man's DNA. Being a man is one thing. Being a warrior is an entirely different thing. Being a warrior is about balance, not just solely fighting. And I like that. And he goes on to say, as a matter of fact, you can be an excellent fighter and lack the other virtues that are needed to be a warrior, which is a code of conduct, in things like discipline, honor, courage, integrity, heart, respect, compassion, etc. So all of those things combined are essentially what we would say is the makeup of a warrior.
So is it fair to say you can be a gentleman but not a warrior? Can you be a warrior and not a gentleman?
I think so. I think a warrior is a time where we have something consistent in our lives, like that. That's the gentleman, if you like, right? There's a code of conduct. We think about others more than ourselves. We are kind. We bring those virtues into the world with those who we engage with. But there's also times where we need to step into the warrior space to actually fight for a noble cause, to actually go, you know what, no, I'm pushing against this because it's actually not right, or it's morally wrong, or, you know, there's things happening in society and community or with my family that as a husband, as a father, as a gentleman, but as a warrior, I need to take care of. That is my role. That's my responsibility.
Yeah, it's so true. And, you know, a warrior implies somebody who's out there fighting a fight for whatever's important to them. And that's a clear message. But it must be, you know, alongside all those great qualities. I mean, you meet many men who are strong and they're great in business and they're really are warriors in the true sense of the word, but they lack that empathy. They lack the softer qualities that really make up a warrior, because a warrior has got both of those values balanced in their life.
Interesting, because I spoke in the men's group the other night and I mentioned the difference between a response and a reaction.
Right.
And a response often for us as men, a healthy response is something that is measured and controlled. I'm responding out of a healthy place. A reaction is something that has already come out of my mouth or it's come out of my body as a physical response before I've even really had time to think about it. It's just I've come out of that space. And
you engage your brain before you engage your mouth. Or you're the other way around.
I mean, we've all done it,
Yeah.
right? Like somebody said something, I've just quickly shot back something without even thinking about it because I got triggered. Or something happened and I did a physical response to that that was out of me before I even thought about it. And again, I'm reading off script here, but it says emotions might come in the way of making a decision, but most people let their emotions come out at any time. However, a modern day warrior tames his or her emotions. And then it follows a quote by a guy called Mark Manson, and he says, emotions are like children riding in the car. You can't let them drive, but you can't shove them in the trunk either. Yes. And I think that's a really good little description to go, we acknowledge that we have these things, but they can't be in the driving seat at times. But
it's so easy, Tim. And no guys who are listening to the show will know it's so easy. When you're in a situation, I had it a couple of weeks ago, you know, whereas I was standing in the back and this guy decided to yell up at me about something he wasn't happy with. And instantly I wanted to respond aggressively. Because all my days in business, that's how I would have responded. And it took the ultimate amount of strength, inward strength, for me to just say, I accept what you're saying. And we all can do that. It's so easy. It's okay to talk about all these qualities, but actually living them can be a little bit different. So let's talk about the spirit of a warrior. What does that spirit person look like? What are the things that motivates that warrior? We've talked about the qualities, but what do you think the spirit of that warrior looks like?
I'm going to pause because I think we should take a pause and take a break, because it's not going to be a 2-second answer. And I'm not sure that I've got time right now to do that justice. So let's come back and talk about that after we've done a break. It is Des and Tim. We're talking about modern day warriors. Stay tuned and we'll come back and do the second part of this after this break.
This is Momentum, a show that helps men succeed in life. Find out more at momentumaustralia.org.
If this program has highlighted something you'd like prayer for, we'd love to pray for you. Call 1-800-PRAY-FOR-ME. That's 1-800-772-936. It's a free call. Or text 0401 132 888.
You're listening to Momentum, a show that helps men succeed in life. Find out more at momentumaustralia.org.
Okay, welcome back to Momentum. Tim and Des with you once again as we step into part 2 of this week's show. And we're talking about real men being modern day warriors. What does that actually look like? Do we even need modern day warriors in today's society? And if we do, what does it look like and how do we become one? That's what we're talking about on this week's show. And I think, Des, we've kind of set up the front of the show by going, hey, we've talked about what it might look like to be a modern day warrior. You asked me just before the break about, I suppose, some characteristics of a modern day warrior, the spirit, the heart of a modern day warrior.
How would you identify one? What, if you're looking at a man, if I'm looking at you or you're looking at me, what are the things that we portray or we do that shows that we are a true Christian warrior?
Well, again, some things that I've found here that I resonate with. A warrior is humble. He has no need to boast or brag. They know their capabilities. There's nothing to prove. And I think just that's maturity in general as a man.
Yes, it is.
Right? I mean, I think when, like they always say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
So something like that. I'm not sure that's the right quote, but yes, close.
The loudest one in the room is actually probably the most insecure.
Yes.
Right? The loudest person in the room, you realize over time, is probably the most actually insecure. When you can just hold a space, you're not trying to push yourself. You're not trying to prove anything to anybody. You're just there holding your space. That's a mature space to be. And, you want to bounce off the back of that with James 4:6, God opposes the proud, shows favor to the humble. I think, a warrior is humble. There's a humility there, but there's also a strength, and that strength is contained, but on the top, it's under humility. He's there to serve. I mean, we can all identify, I think, with the sacrificial nature of a warrior. They understand that there's a price to pay.
Sure. Yeah, not exactly. And they put in so much effort to be the warrior they want to be. And that could be, training. It could be enduring pain. It could be difficulty. It could be anything that sort of helps them grow and mature that costs them.
Yeah.
It could be anything, but those are sort of words that we would use. They give up their comfort so that, they can become the warriors that they want to be for whoever, for their family, for their faith, for whatever it happens to be.
I mean, I think when you talk about training hard as a warrior, we probably cut in our heads to the training montage in Rocky IV. When Sylvester Stallone.
Well, some of us do, maybe not all of us.
Doing push-ups and sit-ups and throwing things around and running in the snow and all those sorts of things. But I think training hard can be emotional training, physical training,
yes,
mental training. Maturity training. I think there's all these things, but I think the idea of being sacrificial as a warrior it's like we're not just here for ourselves anymore. We're here for a noble cause. We're here for something bigger than ourselves.
Yes.
4 things I want to quickly say about the characteristics of a warrior. And I think this was actually me. I think I came up with this as opposed to found it on the internet. But the first is showing up.
That's important. Be there.
So you show up. That's just being there, right? Just being there. That's the first step. The second step is then stepping in, which is then you're being there, but now you're present. So I'm not just showing up with my family, with my wife, right? I've not just ticked a box. Okay, you need to talk to me. I'm here, but I'm not really present. The second part is I'm stepping in. I'm there, and now I'm being present. The third is stepping up, which means not only am I just being present, now I'm being proactive, like I'm engaging in this. I'm actively listening. I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm engaging in that process. I might have some feedback and then standing firm. So if I'm in that spot and it gets a bit icky and I want to retreat or I want to pull back emotionally or I just want to go, I just want to check out of this conversation, I stay present. I'm proactive. I don't disengage. So And again, you can apply those in different areas. But I mean, for me, it was more about how a man shows up in a conversation with his wife, for example, or his kids. You show up, you step in, you step up, and you stand firm. And I think if you can apply those things in how you show up in life, it's a pretty good start.
Yeah, great. And particularly in the marriage. I mean, if you implemented just those 4 principles in your marriage, boy, you'd have a lot better marriage, a better relationship, and also with your friendships. If you apply those all to the friends you're close to, people who rely on you, perhaps, for friendship, if you applied those things, you would have a much stronger, much more deeper relationship. So they're really, really good.
So I want to give men some, in the time we've got left, I want to jump to Real Men Are Warriors Who Protect, right? And I found this article and this was written, I don't know the gentleman's name, but I love this. And I'm going to scan through bits of this because this is practical ways that a guy shows up and protects his wife and his family, right? And I love this. And he says, as a husband and a father, you're the warrior who has been charged with the duty of pushing back against the evil that seeks to prey on your wife, your daughters, your sons, your marriage. If you don't step up, who will? And so he gives examples of how he shows up as the warrior in his marriage and his kids. I'm going to read you some of those now. He says, I've established boundaries to protect my marriage. I'm doing battle for my marriage when I don't meet with a woman by myself unless the door is open or there is a window so that others can observe. I do not have lunch with other women alone. I do not travel alone in a car with another woman. I copy my wife on emails written to a woman, and I don't have private conversations with women on social websites without her knowing. The same time, I do battle for my marriage by helping her with household chores, taking her on dates, getaways, spoiling her with an occasional gift of her liking. I think that's just practical stuff, wisdom stuff that he is showing up and going, as a warrior, I do these things to protect my wife and my marriage.
And the important thing too is have a discussion with your wife or your partner or whoever, and say, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be. This is how I live my life. I commit and honor you by living my life this way, and honor you by living life this way. And please pull me up if you see me not behaving the way I have said I will behave. That's being upfront. That's being honest. That's being a warrior in your family environment.
Well, a real man takes responsibility. A real man takes responsibility. And that's what we're talking about. So let's go into the children's space. He says, I protect my children by training them in the choices they will make. I organize weekend getaways with both sons and early teens to discuss peer pressure, dating, sex, pornography, alcohol, more stuff the culture was throwing at them. I continued conversations with my sons through the years. We even talked about things like dealing with girls who pursue them sexually, what to do if they see a fight breaking out at school. He and his wife made a big effort to get to know their kids' friends, especially once they reached high school, peer pressure kicked in. We wanted to be aware of the good influences and the potential bad ones. I love this. As a father of a daughter, I protected my daughters by dating them, later by interviewing their dates. On these dates, I showed them how a young man was to take care of them, what they should expect from a guy, and how to deal with sexual overtures. I explained why it was important to dress modestly. I did it in an early age before they experienced peer pressure on this issue. I met with their dates and made it clear to each young man that I expected him to keep his hands off my daughter. I mean, that's a dad being proactive. That's a warrior.
It is. But in today's society, the dads just don't do that. And that stems from the lack of a bond and relationship earlier in life. And so, the animosity between daughters, for example, and their dads, it's got to the point where the dad can't have that conversation because he hasn't built the trust and the relationship that sort of conversation is built on.
Sure.
And so we encourage all dads, whether daughters or sons, to engage with open, honest conversation right as soon as you can have a conversation with them. Just be open and honest with them and build trust, build that relationship. Talk to them about what you're going through. So it's not just one-way conversation. And then you will be a warrior and a hero figure for your children, because that's what you want to have.
Some final thoughts just real quickly and I would encourage all men, if you have never read a John Eldredge book, there was Wild at Heart, which was, I think, the initial one. This was the follow-up, The Way of the Wild Heart. And I reread this recently, and some bits that stood out there that I just want to perhaps finish the show on. He said, our God is a warrior because there are certain things in life worth fighting for and must be fought for. He makes man a warrior in his image because he intends for man to join him in the battle. Eventually, every man must come to realize that there are certain things in life that are worth fighting for. And he said, perhaps sometimes the battle has to strike close to home in order to arouse the warrior in a man. And maybe that's why God often allows it to strike close to home, to bring the warrior out of the man.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there's many a time where men sort of just coast through life, and then all of a sudden something happens in their world and they need to step up and they need to become the warrior for their family. So I think that's spot on. I think it's great advice.
He goes on to say off that, Des, real quickly, passivity has no place in true masculinity. To overcome passivity, God has set his warrior heart in every man. In every decision we make, we are either siding with the warrior or the paralyzed man. we all have areas of our lives where we have disengaged from the fight, where we are opting for the path of least resistance. And I think that's a wake-up call to all of us as men to go, you know what? Let's have a look at our lives and go, am I sitting back passive in an area? Am I letting certain things slide because I just don't want to have the conversation, or it just meets with resistance, and I'm tired of having that conversation, so I'm now just passive.
Yeah, just be open and honest with ourselves. Let's be honest about where we are with our lives and what we're doing and what we're not doing, and stepping up.
So as we close the show, we're going to encourage you to step into that, as in like evaluate your life and see if there's areas that you go, you know what, yeah, I've probably been a little passive in that. I need to be a bit more proactive and step into that space. And it might require an icky conversation or two. It might require you doing some self-reflection and going, where's that coming from? Why have I chosen passivity instead of stepping up in here? What's this? What am I afraid of? What am I afraid of in myself even, perhaps, that I'm not aware of yet?
Or being afraid of being disappointed.
Modern Day Warriors, that's been our show this week on Momentum. It's been an interesting chat, and hopefully that's helped you as we've stepped into this space. Again, if you'd like to give us some feedback, some thoughts, you can reach out to us at momentumaustralia.org. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget the care line too. If this supports some stuff up for you, and you need to have a conversation, maybe explore some of this stuff. The care line number 1-800-000-636. That's 1-800-000-636. Des, as always, thank you, my friend. It's been a great show.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
And encourage you to check out the website, momentumaustralia.org. We'll catch you next week.
You've been listening to Momentum, a show that helps men succeed in life. For more information or to hear this week's show again, go to momentumaustralia.org. You can also access a whole range of resources to help you on your journey and to get in touch with the team at momentumaustralia.org. Until next time, keep moving forward with Momentum.